Starr 103.5 FM.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News here on Starr 103.5 FM. My name is Awisi, Dede, Jange. And this afternoon, gender advocates urge President Akufo-Addo to quickly assent to the newly passed Affirmative Action and Gender Equity Bill as they laud Parliament for its passage.
We are still looking up to His Excellency Nana Addo that as soon as possible he should send his signature for the bill to, become law so that we can see its implementation.
Private legal practitioner Justice Abdullahi sues AG and police service over appointment of COP Yohunu as deputy IGP in charge of operations. And later, political scientist describes decision by Attorney General to appeal Court of Appeals decision to free Dr. Ato Forsen and Richard Jakpa in controversial ambulance case as politically motivated as he questions competency of the AG.
To wait all this time to try this case. Why? It happened more than 8 years ago. Why the very last minute about to leave office are you bringing this up? You didn't know it? There's no credibility in it. The Attorney General is not credible. It's a disgrace. He is not fit to be Attorney General. That's what I see.
Well, details of these stories and many more coming up shortly. Stay with me.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, My Star Radio in the USA, also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM. Starr News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
Many thanks for choosing us this afternoon. The news is coming to you live from our Platinum studio here in Accra. My name is Awisi, Dede, Jange. To our first story, gender advocates are urging President Akufo-Addo to swiftly assent to the newly passed Affirmative Action and Gender Equity Bill. Well, Parliament enacted a much-awaited bill yesterday after years of advocacy from women's rights groups. The bill aims to address social, cultural, economic and political gender imbalances in the country arising from historical discrimination against women. It also seeks to ensure gender equity in both the public and private sectors. My colleague Nanama Akwa joins me in the studio with details of the bill. Nanama, walk us through the excerpt of the bill you have.
Well, Dede, thank you. Good afternoon. So when we talk about gender equity, for example, in public service, it serves as an avenue for persons who feel they've suffered some gender-based discrimination in any form of a recruitment process. So maybe if somebody has gone to a public office and has gone for a recruitment and maybe they've been passed over for a male or something like that, that is what they then have an opportunity to lodge a complaint with the committee. Now, when we look at something like security services, women shouldn't be subjected to any form of discrimination regarding recruitment again and oversight in job roles in all manners, especially regarding leadership. Now, when we look at judiciary, it's simply gender equity at all levels. This cuts across also in Parliament as well, where there must be gender equity, especially regarding appointments. Now, when we talk about budgeting, it should rather be gender responsive, meaning that there must be adequate resources allocated no matter your gender. So nobody can say that because you're a man, I'm going to give you more money, or because you're a woman, I'm going to give you less. It should cut across there. Now, regarding political parties, which is interesting as we're entering into the political season, they must ensure that equity standards are set out in the bill and they are adhered to. This also extends to the Electoral Commission, who must oversee those standards being adhered to as well. Now, in the private sector, which cuts across for many, there is expected to be a gender equality policy, which will periodically be reviewed at least every 4 years. So in essence, all elements of society are going to be affected by the passing of the Affirmative Action Bill, which has been in the process for the last 13 years. So many people are very excited that this bill is coming off.
Right. Thank you so much,
You're
Nanama.
welcome.
Aqua is my colleague from the newsroom, and she walked us through the ultimate purpose of the bill, the Affirmative Action and Gender Equity Bill. But some female MPs have been reacting to the passage of the much-awaited bill. Let's take a listen.
This has been in the pipeline for as long as I can remember. One parliament after the other, one government after the other. Everybody has chipped in a little bit, and today we can all just say, aha. I want to, before you ask your second question, I want to thank His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama for asking Mr. Speaker, or adding his voice to Mr. Speaker to make sure that this is passed in this sitting. If you remember, when he met you, the journalists, Nuong Falong asked this question about the Affirmative Action Bill, and John Dramani Mahama answered that he has told Mr. Speaker to do it quickly and leave it as a legacy before the end of this sitting. So I'm very happy that it's been done. Is it the panacea to all the issues that women have? No, it's not, but it's a giant step. I'm sure that His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will sign this quickly. Hopefully he'll sign all the other acts that are with him, bills that are with him.
Including
so
the
that
witchcraft bill?
All of that. Don't just single this out. Yeah. All of that affects us women, so you can't choose and pick which ones you want to take credit for. You must up your game and live up to expectation, Your Excellency. Sign the bills, sign the bills, sign the bills. Not just this one.
We are looking at the 2067 African goal, sustainable goal to achieve. And we are on that note, we are talking about equality. So we believe that if we want to move from 1 to 2, it should be a gradual process. So if we adopt an equality, the term equality, it may be very difficult to attain that kind of equality. But we believe there should be fairness, or there should be an attempt to close the imbalance that we experience with regards to the proportion of women and men serving in governance and economic activities, and also even in the private sector. I'm highly elated, I'm highly delighted to know that we have seen the day and the light is far shining on us as a country.
So you had there some female MPs reacting to the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill. Meanwhile, member of the NDC communications team, Joan Salasi, is urging President Akufo-Addo to swiftly assent to the bill.
All it means is that this bill is only coming to help us, to attain the set goals, as far as equity and gender parity in our society is concerned. So for me, it is victory for us, and it is victory for all women. The men are also, inclusive, and we are thankful to the members of Parliament for the bold step. And finally, like I stated earlier, we are still looking up to His Excellency Nana Addo that as soon as possible, he shall send his signature for the bill to, become law, so that we can see its implementation. There's an aspect of it that I find very interesting, and which I would want to link same to commend my party, the NDC, for steps that the party has taken, in ensuring that even though we did not have this law being enforced, the NDC has taken some giant steps, towards this. And that has to do with the directive principles. And this is where my interest is. For purposes of appointments to positions of authority and decision-making in the public service. And so while you and I will agree that the NDC, under the NDC government, we have the first female Speaker of Parliament. Under the NDC government, we have the first female Attorney General. And today, the NDC is animate to a major political party in this country. And come 2025, we are going to have the first ever female Vice President for the Republic. These attempts by the NDC, for me, I view it as a very conscious, and a very conscious and deliberate, rupturing of the glass ceiling, which we have been calling for over the years.
So you just heard a member of the NDC communications team, John Selassie, asking the president to swiftly assent to the bill. Also, private legal practitioner and gender advocate Amanda Clinton says she hopes that the bill will enhance female participation in politics.
I just want to say that I support the affirmative action bill in terms of women's equality. Because I think overall it enhances the quality of life in Ghana. And just echoing what the Speaker of Parliament said, I think it was just yesterday, this is not just for women, but it's for Ghanaians in general and development. For instance, 13 years ago, I was at the Attorney General's Department, and, I noticed over 85% of people at the Attorney General's Department were female. And that's a very powerful government department, and that precedent, I think, still stands in terms of the number of women. But this initiative is women holding significant positions in government, public life, and decision-making. And I do think it's important to put these things in law, because it's like reprogramming society until they get used to it. And it's also selecting women at the highest level. So I very much support it, and I definitely think that by 2030, we'll be having more than 50% of women in key decision-making roles, basically.
Private legal practitioner and gender advocate Amanda Clinton making her submission on the affirmative action bill. You still listen to the Star Midday News. Away from that, private legal practitioner Justice Abdullahi has filed a lawsuit against the Attorney General and the Ghana Police Service over the recent appointment of a deputy IGP in charge of operations, a COP Yohuno. This comes after President Akufo-Addo recently appointed the Commissioner of Police, Christian Tete Yohuno, as a deputy IGP in charge of operations. Well, in a writ dated July 30, Mr. Abdullahi described the appointment of the COP as unconstitutional, null and void, and he joins me on phone to help us understand where he's coming from on this. Justice, many thanks for joining us on Star Midday News.
Thank you for being
First of all, we want to understand what actually prompted you to file this particular lawsuit against the AG and the Ghana Police Service.
Actually, what prompted me is the fear of having multiple deputy IGPs. I'm considering that the office of the deputy IG first does not even exist within, in fact, does not actually exist, still doesn't exist within the confines of the Constitution and the Police Services Act. It was rather one of the few offices, if not the only office, that was smuggled into the police administration by the CI that followed the establishment of the police services under the Constitution. And so, but I do not have difficulties with creating that office. I mean, in itself, in principle, particularly the occupant of that office presently, a very fine police officer with an impeccable track record. The little I've heard about him, he appears to be possibly one of the best police officers. But this has nothing to do with his essence. It has everything to do with creating an office that doesn't exist, called Deputy IGP in charge of operations. It doesn't exist. There is only one deputy that was created, or that is created by the CI, and that is simply a deputy IG. One, simply a deputy IG. This is the emphasis. But we have on our hands today a deputy IG in charge of operations. Without even thinking, without being a soothsayer, that in itself is wrong. But you are likely to have other IGs coming up, deputy IGs coming up, simply by the creation of this office. Once there's a specificity to the deputy that has been created now, you are guaranteed that there will be multiple other deputies coming up.
Mm.
And my position is that, first, the deputy itself, the nature of his creation problematic. But to have, in addition, a deputy for a specific portfolio gets matters only worse. Because then it admits of itself the possibility of other deputies coming up. This is why we need to straighten things and to ensure that the president acts right by appointing a deputy simpliciter without appointing any additional deputy. I've heard arguments that, well, in the past we've had 2 deputies. And my point is that if you stole yesterday and you were not caught, it doesn't mean that you can continuously go ahead stealing. That is not a justification. It's not a justification to say that because yesterday you did it wrong, then nobody spoke about it. Today you can do the same thing.
So your suit is looking to get exactly what from the presidency?
First, to ensure that we have sanity in the appointment of a deputy IGP. And second, to avoid or prevent the possibilities of having multiple deputies.
Why do you have a problem with multiple deputies? Why do you have a problem with that? We need to understand that.
Because the law does not allow.
That is why you're saying it's unconstitutional.
Exactly my point. The law does not admit of itself the possibilities of having multiple IGPs. And so if you can do anything and appoint as many as a president wishes, then there was no need establishing the law.
Right. Thank you so much, Justice Abdullahi, for giving us...
For God and country always.
Thank you so much for speaking with us on his concerns on the president's appointment for the deputy IGP. Away from that, the Attorney General, Godfrey Adame, has noticed to file a reversal of the appeal court's decision to acquaint minority leader Dr. Kaiser Latofosen and businessman Richard Jakpa has been criticized. Well, yesterday, the AG in a statement described the acquittal as grossly unfair to the nation and inimical to the fight against impunity and abuse in public office. Well, the same yesterday, a panel of 3 in a 2-1 majority decision said Justice Sewa Asaribocho's earlier ruling on submitting no case for the accused to open their defense was in error. Richard Jakpa spoke to Starr shortly afterwards. Take a listen to it.
Well, at that particular moment, I knew my justice had been done because there are 3 appeal court judges. So if 2 have upheld my appeal, the other one, whatever the other one said, that didn't really matter. So I knew by then, my justice had been done.
The case is over. The Attorney General has another window if he so decide that he wants to appeal at the Supreme Court. Are you ready?
He's at liberty. I know this government and the leadership of this government, they don't play by the rules. They are rogues. They don't play by the rules. And they will not take this defeat like gentlemen. They won't do it because they are very vicious. So they will be finding ways and means. And I'm ready for them. I'm always 2-3 steps ahead of them. And that's how you play with these people. When you are dealing with rogues like this, who are masquerading as leaders in the country, if you want to survive with them and survive and be able to move ahead with life, you must be 2-3 steps ahead of them.
So he had the businessman Richard Jakpa, but the Attorney General Godfrey Adame, in a statement shortly after the judgment, called the decision as erroneous, adding that his office would promptly file an appeal. Well, the AG's notice to file for a reversal of the decision has not gone down well with majority of the public. Political scientist at the KNUST, Dr. Richard Barr, is questioning the competency of the AG, demanding his removal.
I don't think it's appropriate at all for the Attorney General to continue this case in terms of appealing or whatever, because the implications are there. People saw the shenanigans that's gone on, training, coaching witnesses and so forth, and witnesses not agreeing with him. That's not good. Attorney General is not there to just get people. You prosecute the right people. But it looks like this case has become too political. And then on top of that, when he finished, he made an interview in which pretty much denigrating the very court is going to appeal to. What are you going to do? This is not a good case at all. So our advice to just drop it. To wait all this time to try this case. Why? It happened more than 8 years ago. Why the very last minute about to leave office, are you bringing this up? You didn't know it? There's no credibility in it. The Attorney General is not credible. If the MPP doesn't come back to the office, the case is dead.
Do you see this attempt by the Attorney General to pursue the case at the Supreme Court as fight to boost his reputation?
In many ways, that's how I see it. Because he's supposed to be a free agent, non-biased, yet he's done all of that. He's biased. He's not a free agent. He has a stake in it, whatever it is. And that destroyed the reputation of a referee. And not only that, sometimes it comes down to incompetence. We heard the president and the finance minister talking about this very case in the form of a conspiracy that is the leverage they will use to get the majority leader to do what they want.
You say he shouldn't be there. So is this a call from you, Dr. Bond, the president, to relieve him of his duty as Attorney General and Minister for Justice?
For what I've seen so far, yes, I would say that. Attorney General who cannot articulate to the country why students' papers that have been marked is not allowed to be seen by the very students? What kind of nonsense is that? So you people should tell him. It's a disgrace. He is not fit to be Attorney General. That's what I say.
A political scientist at KNUST, Dr. Richard Bart, speaking there. Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Godwin Eduji Tamaklo, has described the Court of Appeal's acquittal as one that reposes confidence in the judiciary. Take a listen to him.
How do you take this Attorney General serious? This is an attorney who goes to the court of conspiring, causing an accused person to implicate a fellow accused person, and you want to take him serious? It is rather his conduct that is inimical to the practice of law and the legal profession in this country. Grateful. I am surprised that he is still holding the office of the Attorney General. If he has the alien singular of honor left in him, he should be resigning. He should be resigning. This Attorney General is a regime Attorney General. He's not the Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. He shouldn't bring himself. He shouldn't. What the judges have done is to restore public confidence in the work of the court, more than everything that he has done as an Attorney General of this Republic. I've never expected anything useful from him. This is an Attorney General who calls an accused person that, listen, even though you are not sick, go and procure a medical report and go and tell the judge. Can you imagine? Completely disgraceful.
You're still listening to Star Midday News here on Star 103.5 FM. Let's do some health-related stories now before we do sports. The Ghana Federation of Allied Health Professions of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital is threatening industrial action over management sidelining of their concerns. The group is aggrieved over the hospital's management failure to appoint a director in charge of allied health activities. They have served notice to put down their tools come Monday, 4th August, should the appeal be unattended to. Here is National President of the Federation of Allied Health Professionals, Dr. Ishaku, speaking to the media.
All we are demanding or seeking for is for the appointment of just a director to supervise the activity of all these professions. So we wrote to the board and we gave them ultimatum that if on the 19th they had not done that, we will advise ourselves. A complex hospital, teaching hospital like Kolebu, does not deserve a deputy director of allied health. And membership have resolved that we go back to our roadmap. If the board and management do not advertise for the position of director of allied health today, and by close of today, midnight today, they don't take that step to advertise, on Thursday, that is tomorrow, we are going to start with work to rule, which will aggravate into a full-blown strike. And so on the 2nd of August, which is Friday, we are going to withdraw OPD services. And then on Monday, which is 5th August, we are going to withdraw inpatient services. And then on Tuesday, which is the 6th of August, if management still do not heed to our call, we are going to go into a full-blown strike. order from management and the board, we are going to escalate it to a nationwide strike.
Well, you just had the national president of the Federation of Allied Health Professionals, Dr. Ishaku, there. But we are supposed to speak to our correspondent, Evelyn Arabedu, who is currently at the presser there. But before then, we would go to sport, and Jones is in the studio with the very latest. Jones.
All right, so the Olympics fever is upon us, and before we get to the Olympics, let's start off from Accra Hearts of Oak, where Accra Hearts of Oak have unveiled a new 3-story commercial complex on Tuesday, signaling their commitment to enhancing global competitiveness. Now, the building, which is called the Phobia House, was actually handed over to the stakeholders and shareholder Togbe Apede, the 4 teams, along with board members Vincent Soa Odote, Akwesi Ajimai, CEO of the Ghana Tourism Authority, who actually inspected and then took possession of the facility. Now moving to the Olympics, where the sad news coming in from Nigeria sprinter Favor Ofili, who expressed her frustration on Tuesday, revealing that she will not compete in the 100 meters race at the ongoing Olympics in Paris due to administrative failures by the Athletics Federation of Nigeria and the Nigerian Olympic Committee. Favor's post on social media read, "It is with great regret that I have just been told I will not be competing in the 100 meters at this Olympic Games. I qualified, but those with the AFN and then the NOC failed to enter me. I have worked for 4 years to earn this opportunity. For what?" Despite qualifying for the event, Ofili disclosed that the officials did not enter her, marking a repeat of the previous Olympics, Tokyo 2020. However, technical director of the AFN, Samuel Onyekeke, said the body is as shocked as athletes over the development. We registered Ofili for the 100 meters, 200 meters, and the 4x100 meters. We don't know how her name got missing in the 100 meters. This is our stand as a federation. A check on the entry list published by the World Athletics shows that Ofili will be competing in the 200 meters and women's 4x100 meters relay. Ofili qualified for the 100 meters during the AFN national trials, which was held at the Samuel Stadium in Benin City in June. She had a new personal best of 11.06 seconds. Now, quickly before I take leave of you, Simone Biles leads USA to win women's gold. She has won her 5th Olympic gold medal after anchoring the United States to a commanding win in the women's gymnastics team final. The 5 women's squad of Biles, Susanna Lee, Jordan Charles, and then Jaden Carey, and not forgetting Hasla Rivera, returned to the U.S. to the top of the Olympic podium in dominant fashion after posting a combined score of 171.296, nearly 6 points clear of Italy there. So that'll be all for sports. My name is Jones Aji.
All right, Jones, thank you so much for giving us sport. Let's do some parliament stories now, because minority in parliament has shut down a $250 million loan from the World Bank. The facility, which was meant for the energy sector recovery program, was supposed to be approved on the final day of sitting, given the consensus reached by the Finance Committee. However, MP for Asawase, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, flagged an allocation of $94 million for consultancy services, questioning its justification. His concerns were also supported by MP for Nocturne, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. Let's take a listen to a excerpt of what happened in Parliament.
I don't even understand why this part of this money is not going to empower some of our universities, like the electrical department of KNUST. And this money that we are talking about, consultancy, Mr. Speaker, I want to believe that half of it could get our tertiary institutions to be able to produce our own meters. Mr. Speaker, let them give us more details about this. I want to beg that we stand this thing down. Let's get these details. But to dedicate 94.8 million out of 250, why? You are giving us the money with one right hand and taking it with your left hand.
The call is in the right direction. He has raised it. So just give us the figures. Chairman, you have it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The project part 1 will be for the procurement of meters, which constitutes about 85% of the 90 million that he stated. So we are talking about over $75 million for the procurement of meters. But if he wants it written down, we can give him evidence to that. Thank you.
Right now, Speaker, I want to find out from the members of the committee, can they give us evidence of what they are talking about, because I've read through the report and I don't see that. Where can we find the $75 million that will be used to procure meters? We cannot approve $250 million, and about 90 is going into consultants. That's what you have brought here. What you are telling us is not before us. So let's see some evidence to that effect. If not, we cannot take your word for it. If they don't produce the evidence, we will not support this facility.
Those sounds were excerpts from Parliament. Well, before we go, the Institute of Energy Security (IES) is forecasting a reduction in petroleum products at the oil marketing companies across the country in the first window of the month, August 2024. While motorists are therefore, per IES prediction, expected to enjoy price falls between 2% and 4% in the coming days. And that brings us to the end of the Star Midday News here on Star 103.5 FM. For more news, log on to starfm.com.gh. Have a good afternoon.